You've probably heard of the infamous Mew under the truck in Pokemon Red and Blue. The one where if you make it to this truck that is located off screen next to the SS dock and use strength, a Mew will apparently appear. Well, that of course was a myth, even though this truck isn't seen in normal gameplay, serves no purpose, and isn't seen elsewhere in the game, so it's a rather mysterious truck. The other really popular Pokemon myth is of course the Lavender Town syndrome, where kids would apparently die if they heard the Lavender Town theme, but that's more of a creepypasta if anything. There are also some lesser known Pokemon myths like the Gotcha myth in Pokemon Diamond and Pearl. This one I actually remember hearing when I was a kid playing Pokemon Diamond and Pearl. The way this myth works basically is since the Nintendo DS has a microphone, if you say gotcha when throwing a Pokeball, it will increase your odds of catching a Pokemon. This actually doesn't do anything since your DS microphone isn't always listening, or is it? And all it does is make you look silly for talking to your Nintendo DS. Another similar thing that would make you look silly when trying to catch Pokemon that people actually still believe is mashing either the A button or B button while catching a Pokemon, or just holding down A or B while trying to catch a Pokemon. People thought this would increase catching odds too, and although sometimes it feels like it works, it doesn't actually work. I remember doing this a lot when playing Pokemon games, and admittedly, I still do it sometimes when playing Scarlet and Violet even because sometimes it just feels right. Now this next myth I've never heard anybody talk online about really, but I believed it when I was younger. Basically, if you were taking damage from a hit while your HP bar was going down, if you hold down the D-pad in the opposite direction of the HP bar going down, it would make you take less damage, and transversely, if you held down your D-pad in the same direction as your opponent's HP was draining, your opponent's HP would drain more and do more damage. This of course doesn't make any sense and doesn't actually do anything, although parry mechanics in fighting games work kind of similarly, so I wasn't terribly off with thinking that. Speaking of things in Pokemon that don't do anything, remember the Space Center in Moss Deep City? In Ruby and Sapphire, it didn't really serve much of a purpose at all. Now, being that it is a Space Center though, and one of the mythical Pokemon in Generation 3 happens to be this magical DNA looking alien, it was easy to think that maybe there was some sort of connection between this mythical Pokemon Deoxys and this Space Center. The gist of this rumor was, if you completed some sort of task, you could then go to the Space Center, fly in a rocket to space, and encounter a Deoxys. The task would almost always require the player to do something absolutely ridiculous, like beat the Elite Four 100 times in a row, or something that would take a gullible child like myself way too long to accomplish. There is even an NPC in the Space Center who talks about the number of successful rocket launches they've had though, which goes up by 1 each week. People didn't realize this at first and thought maybe that the rocket count going up had something to do with something else in the game, but no, this was all just put in the game for no reason, and the only way to actually get a legit Deoxys in Generation 3 was through an in-person event, one of which was actually held at a space center in Houston back in 2006. They did sort of remedy this in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire over a decade later, where you could actually go to space this time and catch a Deoxys. Waiting until the 6th generation to finally be able to catch Deoxys in-game was pretty nice, but Generation 6 had some other weird Pokemon myths too. In Pokemon X and Y, if you go to the 2nd floor of this building with the fighting dojo for the first time, a Hex Maniac will just appear and say, "No, you're not the one," then float away. Not walk away, she will float away. In Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, the same thing happens in Mount Pyre as well, and there's no real reason for this. You don't get any special item for doing this, this isn't part of some sort of side quest or anything to catch another Pokemon, there's just a creepy trainer that appears in both mainline Generation 6 Pokemon games for no reason. Her existence alone sounds like a myth, but there were also rumors that you had to chase her around Lumio City in X and Y, but she only appears once in this one building. There's really no reason for her to be here other than to creep the player out. Spawning rumors about Pokemon games isn't just the internet's doing though, as back in the early days of Pokemon, magazines participated in starting and spreading these Pokemon myths and rumors too. Did you guys know that in Pokemon Red and Blue, Dragonite can apparently evolve, and it evolves into Yoshi? Yeah, I didn't really expect that one either, but in the April 1999 issue of the Expert Gamer, they posted an article saying that there was a hidden Yoshi in Pokemon Red and Blue. This requires a copy of Pokemon Red and a copy of Pokemon Blue, and both games have to have all 150 Pokemon captured. Then, in the red version, the game trades over a Dratini to the blue version game. After that, you have to evolve Dratini up into a Dragonite, then trade it back to red version. After that, in red version, you have to head to the basement of the unknown dungeon and stand where Mewtwo was, then use a Firestone on your Dragonite. Dragonite will then, apparently, evolve into Yoshi with a dex number of 199. This of course was a hoax for April Fool's Day, but some people still believed it. A similar hoax occurred that very same year, although this one was a bit more convincing since it was posted on Nintendo's official website. For April Fool's Day, they claimed to have discovered the 160th Pokemon. Not sure what happened with Pokemon number 152 to 159, but Pokemon number 160 evolves from Lickitung and is Luigi. He has a new type of Plumber, as well as some new signature moves consisting of Wrench, Mustache Slap, Gas, a poison ability, Cower, and Family Reunion, which summons Mario and Yoshi for a group attack. Funny how both April Fool's jokes involve Yoshi. Now, the way you were supposed to obtain Luigi was to first catch a Lickitung in an Ultra Ball, then stand where Snorlax was blocking the bridge east of Vermilion City. After that, you turn your Game Boy upside down, then use a rare candy on Lickitung, and your Lickitung should evolve into Luigi. They even go on to say if this doesn't work, you should just try shaking your Game Boy up and down, not side to side, and try again. Now, admittedly, it was a lot easier for people to fall for these April Fool's jokes back when the internet was so young, especially when official magazines would publish these. But can you imagine if big brands pulled something off like this today? Like, imagine if on April Fool's Day, which coincidentally might actually be the day this video goes up, Nintendo was just like, hey, by the way, in Scarlet and Violet, we're having a terror raid to catch Kirby. All you have to do is climb the top of Glaciato Mountain, then make a sandwich with all just pickles, catch a shiny Lechonk, then stand in the middle of Lake Castleroya for 30 seconds, and you'll see Kirby crash in front of you riding his Warp Star. I know this sounds like a very obvious joke, but you'd be surprised how many people on the internet fall for obvious jokes. Generation 1 as a whole had a ton of these myths and rumors that could just take up their own video entirely, but let's look at another Generation 6 myth. Upon the release of Pokemon X and Y, we didn't really know anything about the mythical Pokemon in this game, specifically Diancie. They were eventually leaked roughly a month after Pokemon X and Y came out, but no one knew how to obtain them legitimately. Now, seeing as Diancie has a lot of similarities to Carbink, rumors began to spread about Diancie being a secret evolution to Carbink. This was of course a hoax, although the striking similarities between Carbink and Diancie was never really fully explained. Another mythical Pokemon that was very hard to obtain in the game it debuted in was Celebi in Pokemon Gold and Silver. There's a few hints to Celebi throughout Gold and Silver, most notably the shrine in the Ilex Forest, which also appears in other Pokemon media. It would make a lot of sense for you to get Celebi here, and one rumor went along the lines of you had to catch 6 unknowns that spelt out Celebi, then return to the shrine to make Celebi appear. Other rumors said you needed both the Rainbow Wing and the Silver Wing in your copy of Gold or Silver to make Celebi appear, but the fact of the matter was there was just no way to make Celebi appear at this shrine. The shrine in Gold and Silver didn't really serve much of a purpose at all, but if you want to serve a purpose by helping out this channel, consider leaving a like and subscribe for more Pokemon videos and becoming a YouTube channel member. Thanks for watching, and bye bye.